Welcome to the talk show where men unite, having conversations that inspire, ignite. From relationships to wellness, we cover it all. In this positive space, we're standing tall. We're the men of the talk show, spreading good vibes.
All right, welcome back to season 3, episode 9. We have a very special guest with us, Khalid. He is going to be talking about how we can heal the inner childhood and trauma. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Khalid. Tell us about where you're from, what you do, and then we'll get into the conversation.
All right, Daron, thank you again for the opportunity to participate in your forum. I think it's very necessary for us men to have a platform to talk about issues that we're dealing with. And I'm especially excited about the topic today, talking about being fatherless and the trauma that it brings on, especially to children, and how we can work through that trauma of not having a father or father figure around us. So again, my name is Khalid Scott. I'm a licensed clinical social worker here in the Chicagoland area. I've been doing social work. This August will make 32 years. And I've been a clinician doing therapy for about 26 years of that 32 years. And primarily now in my private practice and in my daytime job, I work with the VA hospital in Chicago, working primarily with African-American vets. And in my private practice, I work primarily with African-American men. And the subject matter of parenting and being fatherless comes up often. So again, very important topic to cover today.
Yes, I appreciate you, brother, for coming back here. So let's get right into the conversation. I'm talking about trauma from childhood and where that stemmed from being from fatherless. So obviously, I didn't grow up with having a father, and he was very abusive towards me. Anything I do or say was never good enough for him. He never said that I love you, son. He never gave me any type of affection or any support. So I think that's probably a lot where there's still certain triggers that I avoid in my life, to say the least. It was one time where I didn't have any male friends. I was just always stuck to my female friends. So that was like, man, really need to start seeing a therapist about this issue, because you're hanging around a bunch of women. Then other people will start to notice and pick up on that too.
Right.
Yeah, something's going on and it needs to be resolved. But that was like 10, 15 years ago, where men didn't talk about their mental health, and they didn't talk about the things that really made them maybe even suicidal or anything like that. But I think today we're understanding more about our emotions and what things are triggering for us. But 10, 15 years ago, I would not be able to talk to you about this with a logical mindset. I was going through a lot because of my father and stuff like that. So do you see a lot of clients, a lot of specifically Black men that going through that trauma? Maybe they got abused by their father and they're coping with life, but they're not really taking care of their mental health. They're trying to just drink or party or just do all these things, but they're not really addressing the problem. Do you see a lot of men like that? Or
Right.
Without saying names, obviously.
Right. Well, it is an epidemic in the Black community, being fatherless, right? And for me, man, you had a present dad, but it doesn't sound like he was appropriate in his parenting with you. So for someone like me, I didn't have a father at all, right? And just like you, my village had mostly women, you know what I'm saying? And when I turned 16, 17, I had got my first job, right, in my senior year in high school. And at this job, I worked with 2 African-American men who I really looked up to. And I was that young person to walk up to Winfred and David and said, hey guys, would you all mind being my mentor? Because I had a grandfather and I had uncles, but they had busy lives, right? And they just didn't give me or my other male cousins a lot of attention. So again, when I met these 2 gentlemen at my job, I asked them to be my mentors and they said yes. And they took it serious. And I really needed that mentorship because the next year I was going off to the military. So I wanted some manhood training prior to me going to the military. But to answer your specific question, a lot of my clients, both the veterans and in my private practice, they do have parental issues, right? A lot of us do, right? And even I mentor young Black males, and the majority of them didn't have dads in their lives. So trying to fill in the voids, right? Because when you're fatherless or you're missing a parent, mother or dad, it's always an emptiness, right? And you're trying to fill in that missing void, but you never do a good job at it because all of us deserve both parents. The two people who created us, we want to have in our lives. And when that doesn't happen, you seek attention. So you hear about girls having what? Daddy issues, right? And they seek the fulfillment consciously or unconsciously with the men they're dating. But listen to that. You're not supposed to get your daddy issues fixed with a man you are romantically involved with. That's kind of peculiar, but often people do. And that's how things go to turmoil. And in fact, us men, you say we have mother issues. We look for things like, well, a lot of us date older women to unconsciously or consciously get that filled need. But at the end of the day, when you're missing out something that's impacting your life, therapy is the number one thing that you need to be open-minded to. Because if you want to be able to say, hey, through no fault of me, I was put in this situation. Now I have to deal with the ramifications of this situation, but how can I better equip myself to deal with mama issues, daddy issues, parental issues, what have you? And for me, I took the negative feelings, energy about not having a dad, and I reversed it. So this next month, Daron, I'll win my 6th Father of the Year award for the relationship I have with my daughter. I never wanted to bring a child into this world who felt the emptiness that I felt not having a dad. So I filled in the gaps, right? Went to therapy, and I've been a great dad to my child. I'm there for my mentees who don't have dads. I have 11 God kids. So as you see, I went the extreme opposite of what my dad didn't do for me. And that's how you take control and get your superpower, by taking a situation that you've had to deal with and making it work for you.
You are exactly right. But a lot of men, they struggle up until maybe their mid-30s or late 40s, not going to get the help that they need because of all of the trauma. And what I realized is a generational trauma. It didn't start with my father. It started with his father.
Correct.
So his father was abusive and talked down on him. And actually, I found out through my grandmother, he got thrown out of the window, of a 2-story window.
Wow.
And he said, you know what? I learned that from my father. So that's what I'm going to do with me.
Absolutely.
His child.
Yes.
But the generational cycle has to stop somewhere. So
absolutely,
if I have kids, I've never abused them. Like, I would never do that because of what I went through with my father.
Absolutely. And see, that's a conscious decision. And it's a decision that you have to work on and be committed to and pledge that, hey, I will not make the errors that my parents made. My parents weren't married. I got married and had my child. I grew up in the hood. My daughter grew up in the suburbs. My mom ended up having a GED. She was a high school dropout, and then eventually she got her GED and then her degree. I have my master's degree. My daughter is getting ready to go to medical school in the fall, so she'll be a doctor. So when you put the work in, the good work, the solid work, and say, I'm going to break these generational curses, then it's better for you and better for your family and better for the community. But you have to say to yourself, I want to do something better because I know the pain I felt. I know the trauma I had to endure. So why pass that on, or why keep continuing to deal with it in the first place.
You are exactly right.
Right.
And when you look at statistically speaking, it's a lot of men they're suicidal, they have nobody that they can really talk to. Because I get a lot of DMs on a regular basis telling me that I got this one DM from a random guy, and he was like, I see you have a men's talk show and I want to come on. I have nobody to talk to. And that was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And he was like, I feel like I want to kill myself right now. And then it was very disheartening to hear that, because nobody is there to support him.
Right.
I'm virtually, but I'm not there with him to console him and stuff like that.
Correct.
And I think a lot of men, they grow up, they be abused, and they don't trust anybody. So
Right.
then it's hard for them to make those connections outside of their families. And so that they never got the healing that they needed to continue to make positive and healthy relationships outside of their family, because of all of the mistrust in the family that happened.
Absolutely.
So how can they start to go back and unpack the levels and get more better in their life, more healed? Because as a lot of people was telling me, you can never truly be healed, but you can manage to be healed. You know what I mean?
Right.
So how do they go back, and they can't undo the trauma? Let's make that clear. But how can we go back and manage what we're going through so we can move on and navigate healthy relationships in our life?
Got it. Well, let me say this. Healing can happen, but you have to put the work into it. What you can't change is the memory of the trauma. You can decide on your own that I'm not going to let the hurt, the pain, the despair, the depression, the trauma continue to run my life. I'm going to do something that's going to put me in the power position. So for instance, this is what I just said for me. Though I was fatherless, when I became a dad, I became super dad, right? And so I don't let the haunting of being fatherless take my life no more. I did something about it. And that's what it starts with, deciding that, hey, let me own that I'm hurt by it, right? Let me own that I've made some errors based on what I had to deal with. Number two, let me acknowledge that I am hurt. I'm actually hurt. I'm actually bothered. I'm actually disturbed. I'm actually depressed and saddened by what happened. Then say to yourself, what do I do next to start feeling better, to get to a healed place? Because I'm in charge of my happiness. I'm in charge of my joy. And so again, unlike decades ago, you have clinicians. You know what I'm saying? You have support groups. You have venues like yours where people can talk things out. You build a village of people who you trust, who you can lay your burdens out there on, and they'll be there to support you, right? But the thing is, you have to decide that I want to do better, feel better, be better, and then do the work. And is the work easy? No, not always, but eventually it pays off. However hard you work, the more you'll get from it. So if you go into the gym and you're 100 pounds overweight, if you put the work in for a year, you could lose the 100 pounds, but you can't take shortcuts. You got to acknowledge that, hey, I'm overweight. Two, what am I going to do about it? And then work your plan and then get the results, right? So the thing is that also I tell people forgiveness is powerful, right? Even though I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to my father prior to him passing on, because I didn't even know he passed. I forgave him years ago, because when you don't forgive, you stay prisoner of your pain when you don't forgive. And see, I don't want to be in prison. And so my thing is, hey, whatever the situation was back in 1969, when he did what he did with my 17-year-old mother, hey, thank God I'm here. Thank God my mother was able to provide me a good life as a single parent. Thank God David and Winfred mentored me at 17 years old. And thank God God has blessed me to have such a great life and be a great dad to my child. And see, at the end of the day, whatever my father did or didn't do, I've overshadowed that with the goodness of my life. But I had to put the work into it. There's no shortcuts when you're talking about healing. There's no shortcuts when you're trying to be a better person. You have to pay your dues. But just know the finish line is there waiting for you. And that's what you got to look forward to.
There really isn't no shortcuts to life, because a lot of people, when they go to therapy, I think they want the clinicians or they want the therapist to actually solve their problems. I really do think that, because it started when I first joined a therapy session. I was just not really talking much. I was just analyzing the situation. And mind you, this was outside of my race. This wasn't a Black clinician. This was a white clinician. The first time I ever had therapy. And I was just taking notes, analyzing the situation. And I wasn't really being fully transparent of the answers that I gave her, because I was like, she don't know what she's doing. She could never relate to me. So why even bother?
Right.
And then she stopped me in the middle of a conversation. And guess what she said?
What's that?
You ain't being real. I was like, well, what made you say that?
Right.
Because your answers are too short.
Yes.
You don't seem really engaged in me, not eye contact. It's not really happening. I was like, well, if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't think you can understand what I'm going through because you're not Black.
Right.
And that let me tell you, that conversation took a left for the worse.
Wow.
Because in my mind, it's like, it was hard enough trying to find a therapist that was Black, that understood and got our culture. But then when I finally got somebody, I didn't think that she was going to understand the Black experience and what comes as being a Black man, because she was a white woman.
Got it.
So how can you be completely vulnerable and transparent with somebody that's outside of your race? Talk about that. If a Black person is having issues trying to find a therapist and opening up, what does that experience look like?
Well, I tell people, when you're seeking therapy and a therapist, it is very very important to interview them, right? And so you can ask questions like, I'm an African-American male, 55 years old. I saw in your profile that you're a Caucasian woman. Can I ask you a question? Have you worked with the population that looks like me? Are you used to working with older African-American men? What do you feel you can bring when I come and talk to you? What type of therapeutic interventions are you doing? And that's fair to ask those leading questions, because you want to know that, hey, even though you're not Black, even though you're not a male, are you used to working with somebody who looks like me? If so, then I'm assuming you've learned some skills over the time and interventions, and you've built rapport with Black men to understand where we may be coming from. But now in 2025, we do have more Black clinicians. Is there a lot of us? No, but we're there. You just got to seek. But also, too, the thing is, we're book solid because we're popular now.
I noticed that.
We're very popular. And I do well with my clients because they're appreciative that someone looks like them across the desk. Someone looks like them across the laptop screen. And then I'm bringing in young social workers and young clinician males to do the work. 3 of my mentees are now therapists.
Because you train them up, right?
Absolutely. So we're addressing the issue. And again, we have a lot of forums and a lot of resources out here in the community. You just have to be diligent. But the thing is, get your therapeutic needs met. And if you're with a therapist and they're a person you are not of color like you, again, you have to be honest. You have to let them know what your biases are. You got to let them know that, hey, I'm kind of suspect, but I know I need to be healed. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And I hope we can build this rapport, but don't sacrifice not getting what you need. Get into some form of therapy, join some type of support group, but get yourself healed and helped.
That's very true because a lot of men won't be able to afford therapy, obviously, because maybe just financial reasons, or maybe they don't want to waste their money and the first session doesn't go well.
Right.
So there's other forms that's not that you don't have to pay for. Men's support group. I'm in a lot of men's mental health groups because I'm in a Black men making friends group. I'm in a Black men's mental health group. I'm in an overall men's mental health group. And then I go once a year to like conference where they just sit around and they talk about just men of all walks of life and how we can better heal. So I'm in a lot of different groups that don't cost any money. They're just, if you're there and you're present, that's just enough to be able to know that I'm not the only one in the room that's going through these or had these issues. You'd be surprised, there's a lot of men mental health groups. So don't let money deter you from getting the help that you need. But my
And you
last
know,
question, go ahead.
and let me throw this out. Do Google searches wherever city and town you live in, right?
Mhm.
There's churches that provide counseling, those social service agencies that provide free counseling, or you can meet there. There's a lot of therapists who have sliding scales based on your level of income. So there's no reason not to get your needs met therapeutically.
And then my last question is to wrap up today's topic. I wanted to know your thoughts about if people are feeling lonely and they're feeling suicidal or they're feeling like no one is there for me at all because they've just been burned and they've been hurt a lot in their life, and it's a lot of trust. What do you say to men that is going through those particular issues? How can they do the journey of self-work themselves? Maybe even reaching out to anybody else. What do you say to that?
First, tap into your faith. If you're a religious man, tap into your faith. I have a wonderful relationship with God. You know what I'm saying? Because I've learned a long time ago, I can't always trust in human man to be there for me, but I know his presence is there all the time. Number one. Number two, look in the mirror and do a real assessment of where you're at. If you know that, hey, out of the 7 days, 6 days, I'm often sad, I'm full of despair, then that tells me that something is going on in your life that needs to be addressed, right? Number three, be brave enough to ask for help. Be brave enough to seek assistance. Number three, and that's men, and number four, what us men really got to get out the habit of, it's okay to make new friends. It's okay to build a village. There's been studies done recently, Daron, that shows that when as us men start getting older, we get into these silos. We go into these retreat and become reclusive. And they did a study at a bunch of senior citizen homes and retirement homes. The women patients there, visitors every other day. The men patients wouldn't have visitors because why? They didn't build long-lasting, good relationships with people so that now they're at the end of life, no one's there for them. They may have been the deadbeat dad who wasn't there for their kids. They might have had one of good friends, but now I'm 80 something years old. My friends are gone. But back in my 50s, I didn't build new friendships. We got to stop thinking that we're supermen and can handle everything. It's okay to say, I need help. I need support. And say that I want better for me. You know what I'm saying? And we got to stop being mad and holding grudges. Again, forgive and build good relationships with people. Ask for forgiveness if you've done people wrong. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I'm an alpha male and I'm very gregarious. So I have no problem making a friend. Hey, Daron, you my new friend of 2025. You know what I'm saying? Now, let me make you understand when you do wrong, I'm going to curse you out. We're going to have real talk, as I'm assuming you can tell how I am. But then I'll be the best friend that you ever had, man, because I believe in us building each other up. I believe in speaking life into men. And then I want people to understand, be honest about your pain level. Stop minimizing it. Say that, you know what, my God, when I was 9, my uncle molested me. I need to go to therapy to deal with that. Because before, I've been sleeping with hundreds of women trying to prove I'm a man because I was a molestation victim. You know what I'm saying? Or say, you know what, my father abused me and I resent men. No, resent your dad. But like you said earlier, no, somebody did it to him. And more than likely, your great-grandfather might have did it to your grandfather. But we both just said, but when we have kids, break the vicious cycle, break the generation curse. See, the goal is always, I want to show up better. I want to show up more improved. I want to show up being the best version of me. But you got to put the work in. We cannot change. And when you think about mindfulness training, the past is history, cannot change it. The future is a mystery. We don't know what's going to happen in 5 minutes. The only thing I have control of is now, the present. And when you have those kind of mindsets, you can start living that healed, happy life that you deserve, gentlemen.
Yes, that was really powerful, because we get men of all walks of life that come on, message us, tell us their suicidal attempts, you know, what they've been through, what they're going through, what they need help with. And your voice is so powerful, Khalid. So I don't want you to take that for granted. It's so powerful to hear another Black man
absolutely
that's actually healed. You
absolutely.
Don't know how many people I talk to on a regular, and they're not healed. You can tell they're healed, though.
Absolutely. And man, we're there for each other now. This is a new friendship now. Mm-hmm. Now you give me a reason to come to Ohio. You know what I'm saying? I've never been to Ohio before. So now I got a buddy in Ohio I can come and see.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes, man. Is being open to new things. You know what I'm saying?
Have a good rest of your weekend.
And stay blessed, brother. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. All right.
Having conversations that inspire, ignite. From relationships to wellness, we cover it all. In this positive space, we're standing tall. We're the men of the talk show, spreading good vibes.